Hi, my name is Emmanuel. I'm Head of Training and Certification at Amazon Web Services for the ASEAN region. We are so glad to have you joining us today at AWS Summit ASEAN. This particular session is intended as an introduction to validating your credentials with AWS and giving practical tips, concrete strategies, and insight from AWS experts on AWS certifications. Cloud skills are in demand, and organizations need individuals with AWS expertise to innovate and drive digital transformation. For developers, solutions architects, data scientists, security experts, cloud practitioners, and more, an AWS certification offers industry-recognized credentials that validate your cloud expertise. I'll start with an overview of AWS certifications. We currently offer 12 different AWS certifications for a variety of roles and experience levels, as you can see on the slide. Our foundational level exam, AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner, is a good place to get started if you are new to AWS or you're in a business or non-technical role. We recommend 6 months of experience with AWS, and we offer a free digital training course, AWS Cloud Practitioner Essentials, to help you prepare. Associate, professional, and specialty exams require hands-on technical experience. We recommend associate-level exams for architects, developers, and systems operators with 1 to 3 years of hands-on AWS experience. Professional and specialty exams are more advanced and with 2 to 5 years of hands-on expertise recommended, depending on the exam. Our exams have no prerequisites, so you can choose to take the exam that best suits you. You can take an exam in person at a testing center, or you can take an exam from the comfort and convenience of your home or office with online proctoring. You can register for any of our exams by creating an AWS certification account at aws.training/certification. AWS certifications are valid for 3 years. To maintain your AWS certified status, we require you to periodically demonstrate your continued expertise through a process called recertification. Recertification helps strengthen the overall value of your AWS certification and shows individuals and employers that your credential covers the latest AWS knowledge, skills, and best practices. Once you're certified, you'll have access to a 50% voucher to apply to future exams. You can choose to use this voucher for recertification. So here we are with our 2 excellent panelists, and let's begin with some introductions. Vishesh, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and your role here at AWS?
Thanks. So my name is Vishesh, but please feel free to call me Vish if that's easier. I'm a customer delivery architect here at AWS Professional Services. I've been with AWS for 2.5 years, and I'm based out of Singapore. In my role, I get to deep dive into customer core problems, and I try to use first principles thinking to solve them. I started my certification journey back in 2014, where I did the associate certification, and then shortly thereafter, I did the professional one. That was prior to joining AWS. When I joined AWS in December 2019, I met so many new, smart, and knowledgeable people that I thought, let's learn a bit more. So I did venture out, and I started studying for the AWS Security Specialty Certification, and then just went on with the rest of them one at a time. It was quite intense, but I ended up doing 11 certifications in 3.5 months. I already had 2 of them from my past experience. And yes, back in March 2020, there were 13 active certifications at the time.
So you got all 13 certifications. Wow. Let me now pass it over to Anand. Tell me a little bit about yourself as well as your role here.
Sure. Hi, I'm Anand, Senior Technical Trainer here at AWS. I've been with AWS slightly more than a year. My role is primarily focused on the delivery of instructor-led trainings to customers and partners to drive the adoption and usage of AWS services. I strategically engage with various customers, business functions, and IT organizations to create customer-tailored training plans. I currently hold 11 AWS certifications, which was completed within a time frame of 7 months. My motivation to embark on the AWS certification stemmed from my work, as I wanted to understand more in depth on the innovative services and technologies that is offered by AWS Cloud. Now, this is important as it gives me a wider perspective on how the various services is able to address the challenges faced by our customers. Now, reflecting back on my journey with the cloud technologies, it started way back in 2018 when I was actively engaging with AWS Academy for the upskilling of graduates on cloud skills prior to entering the workforce.
So between the two of you, you have 24 certifications, and that is just a stellar feat. So I think what the audience would really like to understand is some of your tips for going about and acquiring your certifications.
One of the greatest things I discovered during the process of preparation was the choice in terms of the training materials and the documentation that is readily available. In particular, AWS Skill Builder, our digital training platform with over 500 digital courses available at no cost, along with the 25 learning plans and ramp-up guides, is a must-use resource for both AWS certification preparation and if you are embarking into continuous learning. Another key resource was the use of practice tests. Now, with the practice tests, I was able to identify topics that I need to further master, and this really encouraged me to focus on areas which I'm relatively weak at. So, an important advice here is to focus on the big picture. Take special note on the FAQs and key AWS services because there's a lot of services there, and read up on the detailed facts about each of the service that you're expected to know for the particular exam you are taking. My suggestion here, do not skip on the official FAQs and the suggested white papers. My study approach includes a mixture of self-paced digital training, which I prefer, and practical experience through the building of demos. And on average, I spend about 3 hours a day or more. And then during the learning process, I try to practice out sketching out on the diagrams for a variety of real-world business cases. And then I focus on using my ability to identify and justify the use of the various key services on putting together to solve a particular problem. Now, the important thing here is never skip hands-on lab. Learn by building, not just by watching and reading. The official self-paced lab learning paths provide hands-on training in a live practice environment with more than 60 topics and growing, covering various AWS services.
Anand, thanks so much for all that tips. I think our listeners and audience would really enjoy hearing these tips. So Vish, over to you.
I would just say that what Anand has covered around the hands-on bit, don't skip that. Now, on to my points. I did have a background working on AWS back since 2014, if I remember right. That helped for sure in doing all these certifications. When you have a background, it becomes easier. I was on my first project in AWS in another country, so I really had to get things streamlined. Here are the key things that I could highlight from my experience in 2019, 2020. Reduce the work in progress, right? Focus on one certification at a time. First of all, you don't have to have all the certifications. That's fine. But even then, if you are studying for them, don't try to work on all certifications or many certifications at the same time. The key aspect is reducing work in progress. So what I did was I had to focus on one certification at a time to ensure that I had a clear target in mind and I was able to achieve it, and then I could move on to the next one. I had tried doing this in the past with multiple certifications running at the same time. I didn't get anywhere. Right? So one at a time. Do the security certification earlier. You would generally not hear that very frequently, but security is our top priority at AWS, which is also reflected in every certification that we have. So every certification has a security component. So if you do the security certification upfront, you have a background and you cover a lot of important topics in that particular certification. That also means you have to study less in that particular certification and you absorb the knowledge a lot better. We also want to say, how do you maximize learning from a particular practice test? Let's say you are preparing for a question, you see 4 or 5 options listed. Maybe in the first glance itself, you have figured out which is the right option. If that is the case, just don't answer and move ahead. This is a practice test. Take your time, see which are the other options, tell yourself why those options are wrong. And once you do that, you're actually adding the right thoughts in your mind on what is right and what is wrong and why that is. That would be my key points around these things.
Those are some great tips, Vish. And by the way, mentioning the security and incorporating that and having the certification earlier on is a great tip, because we take security very seriously here at AWS, and we incorporate security principles across all of our training classes as well as our certifications as well. So beyond that, let's talk about anything else you want to share in terms of what your certification journey was. Anand, let's start with you.
Sure. Here at AWS, on a regular schedule, we do run AWS Exam Readiness webinars at no cost. And this is to better prepare our aspiring exam takers to clear their exams. Now, the AWS Exam Readiness provides an overview of concepts, structures, practice questions, and even the use of hands-on labs for practical exposure. Now, my advice, schedule your exam in advance, because this is going to just motivate you to dedicate time for preparation. Now, as I was I'm still holding a full-time job, I knew I needed to be focused if I wanted to clear the exam on the deadline that I had defined. Now, let me share with you a tip. I applied the Pomodoro technique. This technique is used to optimize my study time, work, and personal time by taking a 5-minute break every 45 minutes. So with this technique, I'm able to identify how much effort and activity is required without any interruption. And based on that, I will set up a timetable to focus on the objectives that I clearly define. So end result, it really encourages you to work in a tight bubble focus.
That's also a great tip around time optimization, because time is always going to be an issue here, right? When you're pursuing so many certifications. Vish, over to you. Anything else to add here?
Yeah, I would definitely want to do that. Just to add to Anand's point, there is nothing that motivates you than putting money on the table. So if you book an exam upfront, you have committed $300. And if you have a discount code, that's $150, but still money on the table. Now, my tips, the first one that I would like to give is on time management. We all have the same amount of time. And with COVID, there were not a lot of things that you could do. So instead of sitting at home and studying, I would download the study videos on my phone and just go for a walk. Now, with the background I have, I didn't have to look at the screen, and I would just listen at 1.5x. That saves you a lot of time. And if something special was completely new for me, like the machine learning certification, I would sit at my desk and then study and then do the hands-on. Though I must confess that there was a lot of walking that I had to do. Another tip is that for every subsequent exam that you give, you should ideally start with the simplest one. That gives you a 50% discount voucher, which means your next exam becomes 50% off. So for the associate ones, it becomes a $75 exam. For the professional ones, it becomes a $150 exam. 50% discount is a great discount any day. Right? And then just remember that once you have the professional certification done along with the associate certification, in 3 years' time when you actually have to renew, you don't have to renew both of them. You just renew your professional certifications and the associate one automatically gets renewed.
Wow, great tips once again. So, given that both of you have a full house of certifications here, it would be really interesting to know what you found out and what was really challenging for you as you went through the certification journey. And is there any particular order that you kind of thought about? I know you mentioned security, but anything else you want to add? So with that, maybe I'll pass it over to you, Vish, or Anand, whoever you would like to answer.
Let me take that. So for me, it was the networking specialty. Right? I am from a development background, and my exposure to networking was when I started working on AWS. Before that, it was someone else's job. Right? So when and this is just to add that for someone who lives and breathes networking, who works on routers and subnetting on a day-to-day basis, for them, networking might not be so hard. Maybe for them, the professional certification might be a hard exam. I was able to do this networking work on AWS without actually physically touching a device and working with vendor-specific hardware. So AWS gave me that abstraction. I did schedule this exam at the very end of my certification journey. If I had done this earlier, I would have just taken too long to prepare and never felt confident about it. To be honest, this was the only exam when I didn't know when I was pressing submit whether I will clear it or not. Fortunately, I did. Great learning while preparing for it though. As far as the order of certification goes, to your second question, it really depends on your role, right? Ideally, you should start with the associate certifications and then move on to, like I said, do the security one. But for example, if you are a solution architect, you need to have a broad-based understanding of different things. In that case, the professional one could be your next possible solution. However, if you are a database architect, you may not be the professional certification may not be the one that you are after. Maybe you want to go with the database specialty certification. One word of caution, I did the professional certification first and then did the 2 associate ones the next day back to back. Don't do that.
So you don't recommend that?
I don't recommend that.
All right. Anand, over to you.
I absolutely agree with Vish. When I took the AWS Advanced Networking, it was challenging. Now, on top of that, I also found the AWS DevOps engineering equally challenging, given the fact that my background and exposure on DevOps was limited. I had to spend more time understanding the general DevOps concepts and practices before diving into deeper on DevOps concepts, which are very specific to utilizing AWS services. Now, coming to the part, it is a particular order to follow when deciding on which certification we want to start with, given that we have quite a number of certifications. There are no prerequisites, but the cloud practitioner would be a good start for beginners because this is going to walk you through the required cloud fundamentals, and they are in place prior to you navigating to other certifications depending on your job role and career aspirations.
Awesome. And given all the hard work that you put in, both of you put into attaining AWS certifications, 13 in your case, 11 in your case, can you tell me a little bit about the benefits that you acquired after getting these certifications?
For me, certifications are not the synonyms of subject matter expertise. It just means that you have the will to work hard to learn something new. For example, if 100 people are studying hard and smart, all 100 people could potentially pass the certification. The only challenge is against the older you and not anyone else. When I made up my mind to go for all of them, which was around 5th or 6th by the time of 5th or 6th certification, I thought that I would know everything after doing them. After clearing all of them, I realized I did not know everything. That is a very humbling feeling. Like Andy Jassy says, there is no compression algorithm for experience. I realized that everyone that I work with knows more than me in one topic or the other, and it is completely up to me to learn from them and their experience. That's how I can actually compress the experience, by learning from them. Studying for all the certifications gives me a good base of understanding in varied topics for me to have a meaningful conversation with my team and my customers. This understanding helps me bring different people who might have a different point of view in a team on a common platform. As far as the benefits go, since I work in AWS professional services, I get to meet exciting new customers and see very important problems that they want to solve. Sometimes when I'm introduced by other team members, especially sales guys, they casually drop in the fact that I have all the certifications. I would say that's a really nice icebreaker. Everyone just goes into a question, how did you do this and how did you do that? But it also puts a lot of pressure, which is good pressure to be in. The only downside to all this, I have to rewrite all of them in 2023 for renewal.
That is true, but given your pass rate, I would say this is also going to be something that you will do very easily. But you know what? Great tips, and just to get that perspective, your personal experience on both pre-certification and then post-certification as well. Anand,
cloud roles are in great demand, and getting all my AWS certification has helped me to stand out among the competition. It's certainly an investment that's worth making for me. Now, firstly, AWS certification has helped me gain an in-depth understanding by putting together the various services in addressing business challenges faced by our fellow customers. Now, secondly, the professional credibility is important as it increases customer confidence during training sessions and customer engagements that I conduct as part of my day-to-day job. Taking the time and effort to obtain these certifications has helped me gain recognition and commitment to continuous learning and self-improvement. Now, having completed 11 AWS certifications, the knowledge gained during the preparation and exam taking has better equipped me to be able to answer customer questions, increase confidence during delivery and development of custom training contents for our regular bootcamps and mass-scale events. Now, outcome of customer satisfaction is pretty evident with the ability to apply the knowledge that they have got during the training by resolving day-to-day technical challenges upon completion of their instructor-led training. Now, recently I conducted several sharing sessions for our customers on leveling up on cloud skills and getting certified on AWS. Now, these sessions were very well received with tips on how to get started, training resources, and diving deep on AWS facts. Now, the attendees for the sharing session were introduced to AWS certification ramp-up guides, official materials, exam readiness sessions, as a key reference which they should be using for the certification preparation.
Anand, thank you so much for those insights, and Vish, thank you as well. To both of you, it's just been amazing to hear about your journey going through the certification process, but also once you secure the certifications, what that's done both to your careers as well as interaction with your colleagues as well as your customers. These insights were just amazing. So thank you both, and I wish you the best the next time around when you have to go for your certifications as well. I also want to thank all of our audience for listening in and tuning in to this conversation. I hope you learned quite a bit around what this certification journey has meant for these two individuals, and hopefully you will also embark on this journey. I'll be back in a moment, but thank you all once again for joining. Excellent. Thank you both for sharing your insights. Of course, AWS certifications have benefits for individuals, but from working with our customers, we also have seen how getting teams certified benefits organizations. Our global research backs this up. A study among AWS customers shows that employing AWS certified staff and supporting AWS certification achievement has enabled them to, firstly, build faster. Most who employed AWS certified staff saw an increase in productivity, have accelerated a cloud project, or have been able to troubleshoot issues faster. Second, as Vishesh mentioned, security is a top priority here at AWS, and 86% of organizations agree that employing AWS certified staff has improved the security of their workloads. 3. Reduced downtime and improved deployment time. 87% have reduced downtime and 85% have achieved faster application deployment times. 4. 91% say having AWS certified staff has helped them innovate with AWS services. 5. And it has helped them to recruit and retain team members to close the skills gap. And this quote sums up that research. As you can see, gaining AWS certifications can help support individual career goals and put you in a competitive position against your peers. And we've seen this play out with our customers here in ASEAN too. For example, Techcom Bank in Vietnam have used certifications to develop cloud champions and drive their cloud adoption through AWS Skills Guild program. To date, 91 AWS certifications have been awarded across the bank since last year. They have qualified 18 cloud champions to lead the TCB community support network, and 6 study groups have been conducted by these individuals to pass on the learning to their colleagues. Similarly, for Globe Telecom in the Philippines, they made AWS certification central to their Athena Guild program with a goal to help 100% of the company's internal IT team to get AWS certified. As a result, they have produced a dynamic community of individuals who are passionate about cloud technology and AWS. Within the first 6 months, they had enabled over 2,800 employees through learning sessions and driven a 25% year-on-year increase in AWS Certified employees. I'll finish by sharing some resources to help you on your certification journey. To gain more confidence and hands-on experience with AWS, access the digital training built by AWS experts. Attend our instructor-led classes by qualified AWS instructors and learn how to design, deploy, and operate highly available, cost-effective, and secure applications on AWS. And access exam preparation resources so that you can build with confidence, competence, and credibility. Please also check out the Resources tab on the platform for more helpful guides and information specific to certifications. Thank you again for attending, and we really appreciate your feedback so that we can better understand the topics and services you would like to know more about. So please do take the time to fill out our survey and let us know what you think. Thank you.